Hello, everybody. Welcome to Geeky Clinicians podcast, a special edition. It is
Yes.
our 1 year podcast anniversary.
Yes.
And so we're going to tell you about our 1 year origin story and all of that. But before we do, as always, I'm Dr. Deborah Dantzler, Chief Geek here at Geeky Clinicians, and I'll let everybody introduce themselves.
I'm Jacinta. Hi, I am the lead geek.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mona Taki. I am a first year PMRP, the Geeky Clinical Yogi.
And I am Sandra, the other PMRP.
Our senior PMRP. So I so 1 year ago now, May 2024. So Mona, this was right before you joined us. We were doing some things. Well, 3D psychotherapy was doing a few events. We did a couple of events in the community. We did one over at Agnes Scott. We did one at Hotworks. We were doing these events for Mental Health Awareness Month. And we were like, what else can we do? What else do we want to do? So one day in clinical team, I said, why don't we do a podcast episode? And these guys were like, okay, let's do it. And so May 2024, the three of us came and jumped in here and just started rambling off things about mental health and what gets us geeked up. And here it is, a year later, right? And so
Yes.
this is our kind of 1 year celebration, retrospective, and just and then we can talk a little bit about where are we going to go in the future for, next year with the Geeky Clinicians podcast. All right. So do you guys remember that last year
Oh, wow.
starting?
Barely. I remember me and Sandra talking, and just being on camera. I think you actually left the room and told us to talk. And we talked about the practice and what it was like to be in the practice. And when you came back, I think you could barely hear what we were saying. That's what I
Hmm.
remember. Was that the first episode?
No.
No. I know it never aired, but
Yeah, that was okay. When we when at the beginning of the PMRP journey, right? So for those who don't know, we have a program called the Postmasters Residence Program, right? And so the idea is that people who are newly graduating from their clinical mental health program can, in one stop, in one place, get not only all of their directed experience hours, all of the clinical supervision, and then there are different projects and aspects of the program, like attending professional conferences, speaking, working on various professional development projects, and things like that. So it's more than a job, it's a program, right? And it's a teaching and learning program. And so the video that Jacinta's talking about was supposed to be Sandra's intro video,
oh,
where you were interviewing Sandra about, well, why did you choose to participate in PMRP and what was it? And that was the video that
okay.
yeah. So the first a podcast episode was just us talking about Mental Health Awareness Month and the challenges around um, uh, serving clients and access to mental health and what we would like to see for the future of the profession and things like
Oh,
that.
wow. I
And
do
so,
not remember the first episode.
well, I guess on this anniversary, you'll have to go back and
Have to go
rewatch.
back and look,
Yes,
right?
because the first 2 or 3 episodes, we didn't have guests, Mona. We didn't have guests. It was just us talking. In fact, the second episode was it was so bad. It was so bad. And I don't mean bad as in like it was not good to watch. It was bad in the sense that the second episode we were like pulling like NCE cards. Like it was actually that deck of cards I have over there, the therapy cards.
I remember that.
And we were dying. Like we were literally like dying. You know, I would not want to put our score up of what we did with the therapy cards. But we were just laughing. Like I think the whole I think it was really short too. It was like a half an hour of us just pulling cards and like laughing. So it was no. So it wasn't until like a couple of episodes in we started to have these wonderful guests that we've had, and we've had now over 20 guests in the last year.
Yay.
Yeah. And so I want us to kind of talk a little bit about, think for a second, the highlights from various guests over the course of the year. The thing with the podcast, with Geeky Clinicians podcast is one, just the PMRPs and myself and Jacinta participate in the podcast, but not everybody, not all four of us, soon to be six of us, not all four of us get to be with every single guest. So each person has like different unique memories of different podcast guests over the course of this past year. But before we jump into that, I want to talk to Mona and say, tell me about your earliest memories of joining the Geeky Clinicians podcast. And I think your first episode was your recording of your intro of being a new PMRP. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, that is definitely correct. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to expect really coming into this program and all of these different aspects of it, getting me out of my comfort zone of speaking. And I know what we do is we talk for our job, right, and our profession. But being on camera is a little different and it being recorded, right? And so I would say my very first episode, which was my interview, I feel like it went well. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed kind of reminiscing and kind of connecting the dots on like what my experience was and what drew me to the field. So I really enjoyed the questions that you all asked me, which helped me to be able to kind of ask more direct and expansive questions for other clinicians who are coming on. And I've just learned some really good information and got to really connect with some amazing clinicians in the profession that I do plan to reach out to and like continue to connect with because, I think this is a great space for us to really learn more about each other and then also learn more about other theories and techniques that we may not be privy to that one another are into and may love and deep dive into that. And so the geekiness of it is is where my heart is.
Yes, yes. Sandra, tell me about your earliest memories and just kind of your overview of this year of the Geeky Clinicians podcast.
I think we have had some amazing speakers. We may have one or two that I was like, huh? Stop right over my head. But we've had some amazing speakers. One of my favorite, of course, was the speaker that had the expertise in addiction. George, I think is his name. I
George
love
Fox.
George. Yeah, and also the sex therapist. Was that? Oh, I
Natalie,
love her.
Natalie,
Natalie.
Oh my God. She was awesome. Those two, I mean, I loved everybody, but those two were the two that picked me. And then the one last week. So those are my those are my top three. Even with the training academy with William and talking about the imposter syndrome, learned a lot. He had a wealth of information. And actually it just he pushed me out my comfort zone when he asked me to do a testimonial, and it took me forever to get it to him, but I finally did it. So that was it's a lot of growth. and just hearing the wisdom and the expertise, but also taking that and implementing it in your own life. It's a lot of growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. For who else may have, as our guest, we had a variety. And like I said, the origin stories were, the guests were just friends, people I know. William is my neighbor. And so it just started with that. And just kind of, I love, love, love interacting and spending time with other clinicians and hearing their stories and hearing their journeys and their wins and their challenges, because what we do is so amazing. It is just such an honor and privilege to get to work with humans and watch them grow from maybe a place of deep trauma and pain to that space of healing and restoration. And it happens in so many different ways and in so many different modalities and so many different approaches. We've had a number of guests on here that are experts with working with children. And so we have had Beliza Perez and her fab cards,
Love her.
and so just really thinking about like the work that we do from all the different aspects. And I was surprised that we had so many diagnosticians and so many testing and assessment experts. So that was really like, these are aspects of the field and the work that I just don't get exposed to on a regular basis. So to have them come on here and share their story and their journey, and then get to know a little bit about their aspect of this clinical world is one of the things that I really enjoy.
Yeah. I actually don't like the diagnosis part
Uh-huh.
when I'm working with a client,
Uh-huh.
because I guess it humbles me.
Say more.
Well, when you've got a client before you, and I'm already feeling like a lot of times I can't believe that this is the work that I get to do. And when you have a client that's sitting before you, and um, there are a lot of times when they are presenting a certain way, and you're going, okay, I know what this is. Um, there's just something about sticking a label on it that it doesn't make me it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times, if you put a label on what's going on, a client might go, okay, that's it. That feels right because you're the professional and you're telling me that's what it is. And so now I'm going to take that, and everywhere I go from now on, I'm depressed, I'm depressed, I'm depressed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, so there is that good debate in the field, about to diagnose or not to diagnose, and the pros and cons of all of that. But I think with working with the clients, it is a double-edged sword, right? For some, they have been so confused, so isolated, feeling like they're the only one that is experiencing this, really internalizing all of the stuff of there's something, I'm broken. You would get a lot of that when
Yeah,
clients first come in, this idea of being broken. And then when they have this framework of or label, right? If you say what it sounds like that's happening there is depression. What it sounds like is maybe, this is, maybe a has to do with your personality, and there's something called borderline personality.
yeah,
And let's talk a little bit about what that means. And then I think the work on our part is, for just to kind of put that label there. I've had clients go, that makes so much sense. First time in my life, I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel understood. Like I feel like I'm not the only one. And
yeah,
so it really can serve as a tool to help them try to make sense of a world that was not making sense to them before. And then I think once we have that, then we can do, as clinicians, we can have the work to say, just because this is the frame that is fitting these particular patterns of symptoms and behaviors
Mm-hmm.
does not mean that's who you are, or
Right.
separating the identity from the diagnosis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And really kind of in a way that can be empowering instead of disempowering. Like, well, I've just got anxiety. That's it. I'm an anxious person. I've got, and they're just kind of,
It's an
resigned
excuse. Yeah,
to the label of it.
yeah, it tends to be used as a crutch or an excuse why this is the way I am and this is the reason why, and that's it. Um, I would rather than give a diagnosis, I would rather operate from a place of hope. And like you said, say something like, you know what, I hear what you're saying, and it sounds like you're dealing with some depression. And now let's talk about what we can do to help you come out of whatever it is you're feeling, and sometimes it's harder than other times. And I
Yeah.
just don't like to put the diagnosis on
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah. I think what I'm hearing too with what you're sharing, Dr. D, is like the diagnosis, there's definitely a lot of talk around the DSM-5, right? Yet as clinicians and the diagnosis within itself, what I'm hearing with what you just shared, Dr. D, is like it can bring a sense of relief to our clients to
Yeah.
know, like, okay, this is what it is, right? And then so now that they know what it is, they're able to understand better, or we are assisting them through that, obviously, to understand how to cope with that or heal through that, right? So I'm with you, Jacinta. I'm the same way when it comes to that. It's like, it makes me uncomfortable. Yet at the same time, it can provide that sense of relief for our clients and provide us with a better space to know how to um, facilitate the treatment better.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And
I
that's really
agree.
the point. It's not to kind of lock them into some sort of label, but really we if we don't have, and diagnoses are not etched in stone, right? They're fluid. Like we can have rule outs. We can say, okay, is this, is this, and we can, it can change over time with what we learn and know about the client as we develop that deeper therapeutic relationship. But if we don't have a place to start, if we don't have a frame of, well, how do we get to a place of hope without that awareness? It's part of our awareness journey.
Yeah,
The diagnosing is part of that awareness journey, because we can't get to action without really understanding, well, what's happening here.
yeah. And I think that's the part right there that makes me uncomfortable is that diagnosis is so fluid. If someone comes to you and they are, again, I'm going to say depression, they are
Mhm.
presenting with depression, and you give them that diagnosis, and then a couple months down the line, you go, oh, you know what? I didn't know you had manic episodes.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So now you're changing the diagnosis.
yeah,
Yeah, and again, I think, well, the fact that we're in insurance, with people, when people choose to use their insurance, the insurance company operates out of the space of, is this medically necessary? And to determine if it's medically necessary, they have to have a medical diagnosis. They have to have that diagnosis, which is unfortunate if people, chose to either do, self-funded, self-pay, or just, that sort of way to approach their treatment. Then the clinician and the client, they're not bound by those limitations, and we don't necessarily have to, you know um lock in a diagnostic code or a diagnosis with that client. We can be more fluid and flexible with identifying, okay, well, what's happening here, right?
Yeah.
And really kind of taking a deeper dive with that when they are self-pay. But when they are with an insurance, using their insurance, unfortunately, that's part of the process of they have to have that assigned diagnosis. And I guess in some ways, as the clinician, um, I guess in terms of like knowing that it's fluid, we're not locking a person in a depression box. We're not locking them in an anxiety box, right? Or a bipolar box or things like that. But it also, we just as we're developing the relationship and as we're doing the ongoing assessment, we can get to know the client better and get to identify what those presenting issues are.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, yeah. Sandra, you want to weigh in on our to diagnose or not to diagnose debate?
So I actually had the experience of working with the client and giving a diagnosis based on the behavior and previous experience. And they focus more on the diagnosis versus doing the treatment. And so how do you well, I know how, but my issue with that is that when and I have an issue with diagnosis too, because I'm like Jacinta, I feel like we tagging somebody, and she was a prime example of the diagnosis tagging her and her struggling with moving past that diagnosis. And I hear you, and I understand the importance of we have to have that as a gateway or starting point in administering the treatment, and then for the insurance company. But getting this person to shift from focusing so much on the diagnosis to what's my treatment and how can I better assist and help myself in moving forward from this behavior that has caused some riffraff in my life right now, and I want to get better, if that makes any sense.
I
Yeah,
think
but go ahead, Jacinta.
I was going to say, I think it also has something to do with the way the client comes in. Because if you have a client, I know everybody has had the client that comes in and they'll start to talk about their issue and then they'll say, I know I'm crazy, right?
Mm.
Or I'm broken, or
Mhm.
they put it on themselves that there's something wrong. And
Yeah.
so when they get the diagnosis, it feels more heavy than, okay, now I know what's going on.
Yeah.
It feels
Yeah,
more heavy, like I knew I was crazy.
Yeah.
yeah. In some way, like you're right, it could be one of these two ways. For some, it is, oh, I'm not alone. Oh my God, this makes so much sense. And then for others, yep, this is a confirmation. That diagnosis says I'm broken. I knew I was broken, and now I'm just stuck forever. And I think again, that's just where the work goes with the
Yeah.
Yeah.
client, right? Like, because I feel like the client that hears the diagnosis and says, this makes sense. I think they're ready to go right into
Yep.
acceptance and action.
Yep.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
awareness leads them to acceptance and action, and they're willing to
Yeah.
take steps. Whereas for the other client, with that awareness, for them, if they're using that as confirmation of their
Yeah.
brokenness, then they're not at acceptance,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And or their acceptance is they're accepting that they're broken and not accepting that this is just a guide to help us cluster these life experiences and symptoms so that we could work towards an action plan of doing something different,
Yeah.
right? Of making it better. Whereas they just, and maybe that's just part of their acceptance journey.
Yeah.
Maybe it just needs to be that grief of that for them, whatever that looks like, right? Because honestly, once you have a diagnosis, you're not going to not have a diagnosis, even if the diagnosis changes, right?
Yeah.
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 And so, for some people that could be hard. We're talking about mental health and diagnosing, but what if your diagnosis was diabetes? What if your diagnosis is heart disease? What if your diagnosis is epilepsy? These are this identification with a set of problems that are now going to impact
Life,
or have been impacting your life, and now we have this name for it, right? So there has to be some level of processing that. It's not, I agree. Like, I think it's hard to tell somebody you're meeting the diagnostic criteria for whatever it is, because that's, once they hear that, they're never going to unhear it.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
And so, but then, after that, it's on us to be like, okay, now what? Not right after, obviously we have to let them process it, but that guide.
Wow.
Can I ask a question? Can we like do the treatment and then tell them what their diagnosis is 6 months after? That way they can't have any attachment to it at all. Because by that time, they've already worked through whatever concerns they came to us with, and then they like, oh, I'm good now. I ain't got attached to that.
Think so. Let's ask Ebony about that. I don't think so. I think that's gonna be yeah, no.
So we came all the way off topic.
Yeah, not really.
We always do.
We're talking about Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah,
and
okay.
There's nothing more foundational than diagnoses, right?
Yeah.
And let's talk about it from the client's perspective. Mental Health Awareness Month is important because I think the statistics I read, it was actually on our website, on our social media. Lee had pulled it together. It was something like 70% of people who experience difficulties or challenges with mental health do not actually receive therapy and support. That's a lot of people out there suffering that are not getting what they need. And what are the potential barriers to people getting what they need, right? There are things like access and funding and things like that, but there's also stigma.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's also the clients that say, well, if I go to a therapist, then that means I'm crazy, right? So they're afraid to hear that diagnosis. They're afraid to come into the work, into this therapy space to do the work, to make their life, to improve the quality of their life.
There are a
And
lot
so
of
I
people
think,
dealing with that stigma.
yeah. And so I think diagnosis and stigma are still very, very much connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I've heard in passing, oh, you don't need to go to therapy. It's a waste of time. You're not gonna get anything out of it. Or,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, you are
This
crazy.
family doesn't do therapy.
Yeah, yep. I'm not gonna waste my money. No, it's just that's just highway robbery. You hear a lot of negatives, but then when you share the positives of it and you open the door for someone to walk in and say, hey, look at it this way. When you having those thoughts about certain things, what's the best way to handle it? When you can't get the answer for yourself, what's the best way to handle it? You go talk to a friend listens to you. You go to a therapist can actually walk you through the steps and how to handle that situation if it ever arises again, and how to feel, and it'll be in a safe space. You don't have to worry about it being gossip or rumors or shared with anyone else, because we gonna go to jail and get fined and sued if we do. So we know we're not going to share. It's a safe space. And knowing, and if you suffer with trust issues, definitely a therapist is the best way to go, because that's going to help you rebuild that muscle within you for yourself, in that space of trust, because we can't say anything outside of those four walls.
Yeah, I think the only confidentiality that would be better for a client is talking to a pet,
Yep, there you go.
right?
But
Because the pet's not gonna say anything.
That that part.
Yeah.
That part. That part.
yeah, well, if the pet can be affirming and validating and
You had to bring in the
I
pet
mean, just
card.
in terms of keeping it quiet.
She had to bring in the pet
I,
card.
Not gonna tell. The pet is not gonna tell anybody.
yeah.
Yeah, get
Yeah.
a good dog. If you can't afford, well, if you can't afford a therapist, you can't afford a dog. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but I didn't get a chance to say who my favorites were.
Okay.
So I love Natalie. I always like talking to Natalie, and always like talking to Sierra.
Yes, yes.
But in the beginning, we had a therapist that was um, she came. I pulled her up here, and now I can't find her. Katisha,
Hey.
Katie Reed. I really enjoyed her. Um, and I enjoyed Lisa Duez.
Oh,
Lisa,
Lisa was
yes.
good. Yeah. And I enjoyed oh my goodness, Carmela.
I don't
Okay.
remember.
Carmela, Michelle. Carmela, yes.
Yeah, wasn't that
Yeah,
Carmela?
yeah. I mean, I enjoyed everybody. I have had the privilege and the honor to have been here for all of them. And so I can't even keep in my head like all of the wonderful people that we've had the opportunity to talk to. Um, we had Samantha recently, we had Dr. Pauline. We've had so many amazing guests, and we have so many amazing guests lined up. I
Yeah.
want to kind of talk about I'm going to ask each of you this. What are your best hopes for Geeky Clinicians podcast?
Hmm. Hmm.
I would love for us to be able to get um, some really big names on, and not all therapists, but motivational speakers, coaches. Um, yeah, I would love to have Elliot.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I'd
think
love to
I sent
have.
Elliot an invitation. I
Yeah,
need to reach out to Elliot.
I'd like to have Elliot Connie and maybe Adam too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and I would uh I would be tickled pink if Mel Robbins came on. I don't think I'd even be able to function. I'd probably every time I go to ask her a question, I'd start laughing or crying or something.
So you'd be totally fangirling out on
Yes,
Mel.
totally.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, I'd like to see people like I don't know if you guys know Trent Shelton. So Trent Shelton used to be a former football player,
Ah.
and he could no longer play football for whatever reason, and
Hmm.
didn't know what to do next, and ended up doing this motivational speaking. And he has helped so many people.
Mm.
And he's always very inspirational. He is always very, he speaks life. It's just that simple.
Okay.
He speaks life.
Okay.
I would like for us to be able to interview people like that and to reach a wide range, far outside of where we are now. Because right now we're growing,
Hmm.
but I would like to see us grow to the point where um, we are national. People know who geeky clinicians are.
Okay. I like that. Excellent. Mona?
Yeah, when I'm hearing you say that, one name came up for me, Dr. Tama Bryant.
Ah,
I'm like, if we could get her on,
if
because I
we
know
could get, oh yeah.
I would love, love, love to have her on. Actually, one of my mentors is very close with her, and I just love her. I'm like, she would be amazing
Okay.
to have on the podcast and like just provide so much insight on, because she is a clinician. And I want to say she was the president of the APA at one point, or
So
is.
Mona, if you
I think
got
so.
connection, somebody that knows her, 6 degrees of separation, baby. Let's
I
get it.
know.
Sure.
Yeah, I
Sure.
know. Yes. Now that like it's all connecting now. Like
Yeah.
it's, it's connecting. So I'm definitely gonna like poke at that a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Yes.
never know.
Yeah, I'd love like Nedra Tawwab as well. Like,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Yes.
You know, she's teaching a course, a social work course at Walden University.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Really?
and you know what? I don't even have to take that class, but I take it just so I can sit in there with her. That's what I'm gonna do
Yeah. And
At Walden.
at Walden University. She's a
mhm.
professor.
Yeah, she has a commercial for it. That's how I know
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. And of course, if we can ever get my my therapy fan girl crush, Dr. Romani, on here, I would absolutely die.
God.
Die. Like I would die.
Oh
So,
my
but yeah, so
God.
okay, so what I'm hearing is one of the best hopes for the podcast is expanding our reach and actually being able to have some of the major thought leaders in our field
Yeah.
Yeah.
as guests. Even David Kessler,
Would love that.
I mean, like there's a list, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think and having a mix of our friends and local clinicians that are doing amazing things, coming out with new books and
Yeah.
products like cards and other journals and things like that, and offering Geeky Clinicians podcast as a space for exposure and growth and offering, for them to get their own message out and support. And then
Yeah.
also having those major thought leaders and basically therapy celebrities, right? Celebrities, right? Would be awesome as well. And so broadening our audience, right? Like, who do we see as our target audience for Geeky Clinicians podcast?
Mm.
Is it just geeky clinicians?
No.
Mm-mm.
No. I would say even individuals interested in pivoting in their career into being a clinician,
Hmm.
current students who are in school right now to become a licensed, professional in this field. So, yeah, or just someone who is just a geek.
Just curious, right? Just curious
Yeah,
about mental health.
yeah,
Yeah.
people
How
who are
many times have you
interested.
heard people say that they are curious about the way the mind works?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dr.
Yeah.
Gabor Mate.
Huh?
Oh, oh,
Dr. Gabor Mate.
oh my
Oh my
God.
God. If we came,
I'm
oh my
speaking it.
God,
Dr.
I
Dr.
would
Gabor Mate.
my mind.
I love
Oh
him.
my goodness.
Dr. Gabor Mate. I'm just
Yes,
gonna keep speaking it.
yes.
Here's the thing, right? So, oh my God, I don't even know how to yeah, no, that would be amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Maybe we should make our wish list.
We
Yeah.
should. We
Just
should.
make our wish list and send out the invitations. You know?
Yep. Yep.
You
Why
know,
not?
you know what? You never know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You never know.
Awesome. Awesome. I know that in 2025, moving forward, like once Lee gets back, we are going to be looking at how do we put this Geeky Clinicians podcast on the other platforms. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, those other things. Because right now, we're just on YouTube, which is great. And again, anybody currently watching, and if you definitely gotten to this part, I hope you have already liked and subscribed to this channel, because we're going to have all those big names, and you can get the first notice that they're coming on, right?
Yeah.
And so, but we will be doing that as well. I think clarifying our target audience, and then really honing in. I think also in 2025, maybe we should schedule a planning meeting, and let's revise, we can update and revise our questions, because we have a set of questions that we ask every guest. And I thought about, actually I posted it on our Facebook yesterday, and it was, if you guys didn't see it, it said, what is your best day doing therapy?
That's a good question.
So and so yeah, we can come up with some new exciting questions, especially if we're getting those bigger guests, right? Like, what does that look like to be in their presence and things like that. So yeah. All right. Any other thoughts, comments? Happy birthday, Geeky Clinicians Podcast. Happy first birthday.
And many more.
All right, again, like, subscribe, share, tell everybody, and thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah.
Bye.